Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I'm back here today to do a couple more reactions. Hopefully some of you caught the live stream that we did on Friday. We did Amnesiac and the full album, and I saw a lot of you there. So thanks for joining me on that. And I am gonna do another Radiohead song. I was looking at some of the comments, and someone suggested I do a live version of something that was on Amnesiac, and I like that idea. I have done a couple of live reactions to the Radiohead stuff, and I really like the way they translate what they did on the record to make a live version of it. I mean, sometimes it's completely different, but in a great way, you know. And some of you were talking about the Amnesiac album being. Some people think it's, you know, weren't crazy about the album, whatever. It was a little too different. Some of you said it didn't feel like it was up to par with some of their other stuff. And I kind of know what you mean by that, because as I listened to it, it sounded a little different, and in my just a basic thought is that it sounded a little rougher, a little sounded more like beginning versions of songs that never really were developed to where they would be at the standard of maybe some of their other stuff. And again, I may be completely off base on this, so, but they just felt a little more like sketches, you know. Sometimes you write a song and you put it together, you put a sketch together real quick to see, okay, what do we got here? And then you kind of develop it. And maybe there was a sense of that, at least to me, it felt like on that album. So that's why I'm so interested to hear a live version of something from there, because a lot of times, not just with Radiohead, with a lot of other bands, the live versions will take on a life of their own. Back when I was growing up, you know, you had bands like Hendrix and Zeppelin and this and that, and you became fully aware that these guys didn't sound the same live, and in that case, they were actually not as good. You felt a little let down, but because of the nature of the technology of the day, you knew that was probably, you know, the best it was going to be. So you went and saw a band live. It was great, but it didn't really sound like the record, because, you know, when you listen to Zeppelin, you know, Jimmy Page is overdubbing the rhythm guitar as he's playing the solo over it, and that's going to be all missing in the live stuff. Sometimes there's keyboard parts on something that don't make it, you know, that there's no keyboard player in the band, so, you know, those parts are missing. Anyway, but with technology these days, quite often it's the opposite. I hear live versions of stuff that sound way better or take on just a different life than the album version. And I'm not saying one's better or one's worse, but it's just a new listening experience. And that's why I want to hear something live off of Amnesiac. Who recommended this? Let me see who suggested this. It was Bill 8856. So Bill was like, you know, can you do a live version of Spinning Plates? And I think that sounds pretty interesting. That I'd like to hear. So, you know, that being said, I wanna take a listen to this and see what it's all about. So this is like Spinning Plates live at Musique Plus Montreal 2003. So let's take a listen. Sounds like a small club, a very small venue.
Thank you very much.
Which would be a great place to see a band like this, right?
I don't know if anybody knows a song called Spinning Plate. This is dedicated to our glorious leaders, or at least some of them who saw fit to take us to a war that nobody wanted. Kill thousands of, if not tens of thousands of innocent people. And they shall go to their grave with it on their conscience. and I hope that's okay for them. Anyway.
Yeah. So this was interesting. Yeah, real interesting. I like this stripped down version like this, and I like what he explained a little bit about the song in the beginning. That made a big difference to me because the first time listening to this on Friday, looking at the lyrics, going, okay, well, you make pretty speeches, yeah, I think it's political or whatever, but to hear him say, oh, this is about a war that we shouldn't have been in, it just solidifies the whole meaning of the song, at least in my mind, and yeah, it's amazing. Now I don't know, Billy. I don't know if this was the version you were talking about or not. There may be another version, maybe where the whole band is playing. I'm not sure, but I like this version because this was a real stripped down version, and it allowed me to kind of get a glimpse into the songwriter's mind and mindset. Real interesting. Interesting chords. A couple of things about this. This sounds a little bit about. It sounds a little bit like. Which song was it? Jumped in the river with the angels with black eyes. Looking at me. What song was that? You guys know what song it is. This kind of reminds me of that song. There's a little bit of that kind of chord progression in there. Pyramid Song, maybe. I think this kind of had a little something in there was reminding me of it. It had to do maybe with the that kind of thing. There was something about those parallel major thirds moving down, and then that little Phrygian thing up on top. Real interesting. And also, this kind of makes me feel, again, like what I was talking about in the beginning, where I was feeling like, this seems like the germ of an idea when you get an idea for a song and you go, okay, hey, this is my idea. And so it's really, there's just two little verses here. So it's not as well produced, or the idea isn't drawn out more, or explored a little bit more musically. It just seems like the germ of an idea, and it might be, and I'm sure, it's one of those things where it's like, I like it just the way it is probably what he's thinking, and it's perfect. It says what it needs to say, and I don't want to dilute it by adding more parts to it or this or that. Who knows? I'm putting, I'm just making this up in my head, thinking about, it's a very short piece. But that was a very strong performance. Sometimes less is more, and I thought that was pretty cool. Are there any other versions of this live? Let me do a search here and see if there's anything like Spinning Plates live. That's the one we just saw. This is at the Greek, Berkeley, 2019. There's one from Madison Square Garden. Let me take a little listen to this. See if it's more of the same. It looks like it's going to be him just solo.
I fucking love playing here.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through a little bit and just take a look. Yeah, it's just him. It's just him on here. Okay, let me go back and see if there's anything else, or if that's just the way it's always done. So I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the right version here. Is there anything where the whole band is playing? I guess not. Yeah, it looks like it's just really just a solo piano thing. This might be something different. Looks like the band may be coming in on this one. Yeah, so it's just the bass coming in on that. But what's interesting, then he goes. Interesting. Cool chord changes. So anyway, interesting song, man, and pretty powerful. Like I said, Billy, hopefully I got the right versions of it here. I think this one may have been an audience recording here. It's not the greatest quality, but I could hear what was going on. So all I heard in here was the bass kind of doubling the bottom part on there, but pretty cool. So, like spinning plates. I'm glad I did this because it brought a whole new meaning and understanding of the song to me. So, pretty cool. Thanks. Good suggestion. Let's see what else is out there. See you in a bit.